Hello, welcome, and welcome to another after show with your boy Mark Reed and your other boy Max. How you doing, Max?
Sorry, I was muting the stream. I was
Mm,
hearing you double,
okay.
but that was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, no echo. Oh, I had a blast. I had an absolute blast. I think the evidence of God is a really good debate interlocutor. Actually, I just had fun with the man. Like, you know, I must.
He. I think I said in the pre-show, he is respectful, rambles on a little bit, but
Yeah.
on the pre-show I said, if evidence of God would produce one piece of the evidence he cites, I would just give him the win. But he can't do that. It's been 4 debates in a row that people ask him, what is the evidence that you are referring to? And he's unable to produce the links. I took a moment in my debate with him to explain this to him. Dude, if
Mm,
you're doing a debate, your screen name is
yes.
Evidence of God, and you're citing stuff, you should have
Hmm.
that at the ready to share the link to me so I can show you. And it doesn't get through to him. It's so weird.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of odd because, um, like to say PubMed, like I don't think he understands what PubMed is because PubMed's a journal and it literally has millions and millions of papers in it. And yeah, you can, and probably thousands on endogenous retroviruses. You can go through there for ages, um, and still not find the one that you're after. That's why we have citations,
Yeah,
and I
that's
don't expect
exactly.
sort of a Harvard citation, Harvard format kind of thing, but I do at least expect the name of the paper that he's referencing. Okay,
Yeah.
PubMed.
Or share me a link. You know that when you cite something as evidence, they're going to ask you for it, because more often than not, when you're in these debates, and I've done, you were part of the video we did reviewing the evidence he cites as evidence,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all basically just misinterpreting what the thing said, or basically
Right.
getting one example of one thing that agrees with him and
Mm-hmm.
claiming it as an absolute truth. So you need to share those things. But maybe it's because I've seen a lot of people and I take the best examples of how to debate. So if I'm citing a source, I will give you the source immediately. I will have it at the
Sure.
ready to go, just to send it over to you so you can check what I'm seeing and check what I am actually referring to. It's a very weird situation. I hope he someday understands that
Yeah.
it should be one of the things that he does in this kind of debates.
And I'd like to give a big hello to the MDD raiders. I'm being raided. I love it. I love it. Raid away. Raid the read. That's what I say. Oh, Maximiliano Visha
Yes.
does 10 readerships. Who are you hitting? You're hitting Super Squid Hunk, Savvy McBride, Blunted Suspect. Gonna go for it. Hunter Biden's laptops. Caesar Tejada. Caesar Tejada.
Tejeda. Tejeda.
Tejeda. Tejeda. Beautiful. I'm sorry, my pronunciation is terrible. Who done it? And Ian Chen official. Sven Grudosan per Aspera ad Astra. And that's it.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Maximiliano. Really appreciate it. You are a champion. Really appreciate it, buddy. And so do obviously the people that you hit. But so a lot of it was. I must admit, I was cutting him off. He gish gallops a lot, and I knew
Yes.
this going into it, kind of thing. I really wanted to stick on one point at a time and sort of keep to one. And he does sort of. He was being kind of evasive, so I kind of had to drag him back onto what it was that I was asking. It was kind
Mhm.
of like, how did these retroviruses get there? And it's like, well, there's these problems here, and everywhere from a paper I can't give you where the people who wrote the paper disagree with me. And it's like, well, let's get back onto how they got there in the first place. And it's sort of no answers were forthcoming.
Mhm.
But I feel like a lot of the time it was just a faith-based position. He has faith that Adam and Eve and the Bible and all of this kind of stuff, and there is no amount of evidence you could provide to convince him otherwise. I found absolutely hilarious the part where he was sort of saying, we'll point to something complex in nature. And you're like, well, there's other complex things that aren't designed in nature. And then he's like, but they were designed by God, so they don't count. And it's like, well, like I was trying to get across, you've set up this situation where you're saying, point to something not designed, and by the way, nothing counts because everything is designed.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of examples, and it's hard to think on your feet during the heat of the debate. But in clay, there are some formations that they build hexagons, and it's just water going over the clay. It becomes mud, and then it drips down.
Designed,
and
Max.
hexagon.
That's designed. You know, that's designed because everything's designed. Wow, incredible. Anyway, I will start to get people in here. Get their opinions and any constructive feedback. I'm more than open to. Bit of Truth, how are you? Welcome to the stage. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. How about you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. A bit tired, but you know, I didn't sleep very well last night. I must admit, I didn't. I was sort of up late doing my presentation and sort of lost track of the time. And then I saw Donnie was streaming, so I went on and gave Frank Turek a hard time in the chat.
Donnie's the worst.
Frank Turek's the worst. Frank Turek was sitting there going, oh, these people, i.e. atheists, are celebrating abortion. And it's just like, what is wrong with you? That's such an obvious lie. We're not. We're celebrating women's rights, not like, what? He's awful. Absolutely awful. Anyway, that's my opinion. Sorry, Bit of Truth. I'm just taking over your thing, mate. What did you think of the debate? Any feedback? Anything you'd like to discuss?
Yeah, Vestigial organ, he was unable to, respond it properly. He was just talking about the tailbone. That's where we are able to stand, which is completely wrong. And the other thing, when I asked him about, we found the fish bones, we found, tools. We also found evidence of fire with the Homo habilis cave. And he couldn't respond properly on that too. So there is a lot of things to talk about the evolution, cranial changes. There is a gradualism, and that's also evidence of evolution. The species went extinct, but originally we are offspring of those species. That's how those are extinct, but we are still alive. Our closest relatives, which was Neanderthal, went extinct because they were isolated, and there was a lot of theories about that. When I was talking about the turtles, if this is designed by the god, then how stupid design that we are chalking. That's also, I've asked him the question, he was unable to answer, and he just says, oh, the god design and leave it like that. So we died by the chalking because we have only one pipe, that, and in between there is only a valve. So if valve doesn't properly close when we are drinking or eating, that's called chalking, and we can die. And thousands of people died each year because of that chalking. Even then the spine. So he did a lot of interpretation in molecular level. When you talk about endogenous retroviruses, when you talk about molecular level, he was unable to satisfy the audience, so then audience can understand, yes, there is a designer. When I asked him about how come a young girl, adult women, can be born from ribs of Adam, and he couldn't respond it properly. So the people can easily understand. I believe that you are clearly the winner on that, and I congratulate to that. And I'm hoping next time, if you have another debate, if you include what I just said, will be even punishable for the creationist, and they wouldn't able to even respond those all points which I just raised.
Well, yeah, and they're good points. I really wanted to stick to the main, the strongest evidence, which is absolutely the genetic evidence is the strongest. Francis Collins himself said it was basically the nail in the coffin for creationism, young Earth creationism, and he's a theist. But yeah, no, they're good, and atavisms is something that is really good. Like, why do chickens suddenly get born with teeth for some reason, or we suddenly get born with tails? atavisms are sort of a throwback to our evolutionary heritage, and they're very compelling evidence. Some dolphins get, like, not all of them, some of them just happen to grow leg bones, basically.
And thumbs.
Just
I
to-
saw a recent
yeah.
paper, they're growing thumbs.
Mhm.
That's
Uh-oh.
right. Even especially when you look at the whale, and when you go back, whale or dolphin, when you go back onto their ancestor, it is fully discovered their fossils, and it's telling us how they evolved from the land. That's why they're called mammal, and they still have mammal glands where they are giving milk, and they do have some other things like lungs, so they need to come up on the surface of the sea to take a breath and then dive back down. That's telling us they evolve like human evolve, and like the snakes evolved from lizards. That's why the snakes still have a vestigial organ, which is limbs. So there is a ton of evidences of evolution, and the creationists have got zero evidence on the God creation. That's why they are doing interpretation. They're trying to just justify their religion by interpretation. That's all they are doing.
Okay, Leo, welcome to the stream. Good to see you, mate. Really good to see you. How you doing today, buddy? Oh, that bad. Come on, Leo.
Wait, hold on. Were you asking me?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking
Yes,
to
it's
Issa.
not.
I'm sorry. I'm really high. Anyway,
No.
how's it going?
Okay, that's all right. Look, I can understand how we can confuse you two. You look exactly alike, exactly.
Yeah, those brown people, they all look the same. Anyway, yeah, you did really well in the debate. I liked you pressing on the whole, wait, but if everything's designed, then how do we have like a standard of delineation between designed and undesigned things? You wouldn't be able to delineate between those if literally everything was designed. And there was something else. Yeah, there were a few times where he would say something, you're like, yeah, okay, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And I really like that, because I like it when somebody uses either technical terminology that you do know what it means, but the audience that may be listening might not, and so you ask somebody to explain it, or somebody says something and you genuinely don't know what the fuck they just said. It's just, I think it's always good to ask people, oh, well, what do you mean by that? What does that mean?
Well, a part of it, like some of it was, I honestly didn't know how he was using the words he was using, because he described sort of evolution as and complex things coming from randomness and nothingness.
Yeah.
And I understand what he meant about random. I mean, he was wrong that the process is random. He's just wrong about that. But what does coming from nothingness mean? I mean, part of me thought, well, is he alluding to, a universe from nothing, like Lawrence Krauss, like, oh, nothing can't come from nothing kind of stuff. But I mean, it's an evolution debate, and he was talking, so I didn't know, like, what's that supposed to mean? Nothingness.
It's the classic straw
who
man
knows?
we've heard thousands
I
of
also
times.
saw that he pulled the whole origins or bust thing. Once you got him on all the stuff with evolution, he just pretty much went to like a biogenesis style stuff. So, God, there was one other thing I wanted to say. What the hell was it? Oh my God.
Wow, Doc Dino, it's finally good to put a face to the person.
Yeah, howdy.
Hi.
How's it going?
Really well.
Good.
Okay, well, Leo, if it comes back up, let me know. But we're going to go to Super Squid Hunk. Yeah, no problem at all. Super Squid Hunk, what do you think? Any feedback? Any criticism for me? I'm more than happy.
No criticism. No, I showed up a little late. I missed all the ERV stuff, which is a shame because I love the ERV talk. I think it's really strong evidence for evolution. I showed up when he was rambling on about codes, and that drove me a little bit insane. I'm a software guy by profession. That's how I make my living. I have a degree in software development, and when people conflate like code with computer code, like, computer code is a type of code, but not all codes are computer codes. Just because you can map letters and words and symbols to different objects in a category doesn't mean you can program with it, right? So that kind of drove me a little bit nuts. But yeah, the parts of the debate that I saw, great. You did a great job. Yeah.
Thank you.
By the way, it came back to me, Mark, if I may.
Yeah. Sure.
The whole deal, but that's just all random chance. I've never understood this. Random chance isn't a mechanism. It's not like random chance causes things to happen. That makes that doesn't make sense. But that's supposed to be the whole point. And then at that point, I think that the concept just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Not to mention, nothing in the universe is technically random. Perhaps stochastic, but not random, because of the laws of physics. So at the very least, these processes that would otherwise seem random are still going to be explained within the framework of the laws of physics. So they're not going to be random.
I think, yeah, and I understand what you're talking about, taking a very physics-based idea of random or a philosophical idea of random, not non-determined things. But I think that I'm happy with the way that we use random, as in sort of just incidents that don't seem to, we can't explain the cause. Like, because genetic drift we would describe as random, right? It's just random events that are selecting things. But I understand in physics they're not exactly random; they still are determined. But the way that we're using it is kind of a colloquial, well, it's too complex to understand the reasons behind it.
I don't know whose turn it is.
No, that was the point I want. I'm done.
Yeah, howdy. I caught the vast majority. Well, actually, I caught all of the debate.
Well, just one second, Doc. We're going to go to Isa first. That's okay. We'll just go to Isa. Sorry, my mind was on something. Someone's asking for my email address and can't find it on my channel, which is wild to me because it's just like they've never seen a channel description before. It's got a link to prove that you're not a robot. Maybe this is a robot. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they are a robot.
Tyler is a good friend of ours.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
I will put it in chat. I'm not happy about it because if somebody scrapes it with a bot, but
if you
go ahead, Isa.
and then delete it, you don't get it in the replay.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, pleasure to see you, brother.
Howdy, partner.
Yeah, great to see y'all. What I really loved was the engagement on the endogenous retrovirus. I think that's really a strong argument, and he really had no defense against it. I think that is an important thing. It's like, if you're trying to say there's this perfect intelligent design model, then why is there's this leftover DNA that exists within the system of previous viruses? It seems like there's this like evolution that's occurring where we see that how our folks engaged with diseases of the past and had to kind of engage with those diseases and kind of overcome them and, develop systems against that. So I think that was a really strong argument, and I don't think he had a defense against that. And that's the problem. If you're going to, and most of the debate, what he was doing was kind of focusing on the conspiracy theory that why is everything closed off? It was funny, when I was in school, I was actually in an AP history class, or it was a history class in college. And I had to, we were playing the Scopes Monkey Trial. So that was a kind of thing. I was supposed to play William Jennings Bryan, who was promoting intelligent design when that was in vogue, I guess. And I think it's really interesting because that was what was attacked, was evolution. Like what he's accusing of is what was happening to scientists who were promoting evolution. They were being silenced. They were being attacked. Their whole jobs were being destroyed. That was literally what was happening. What the accusation he was making actually happened to evolutionary based folks who were teaching that methodology. And I don't actually think that does happen for people who are promoting intelligent design. You can teach it in private school. You could have your own private institution, and you can teach your intelligent design model there. You can have your private college and teach your intelligent design model there. The thing is, a majority of folks are not going with that. But I just thought that was interesting, that his really major argument was conspiracy theory. And I think when you went to the sciences, which is really the strength, he really didn't have a good defense against it. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Ethan. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to share my screen briefly because people can't seem to. So this is going to be a YouTube tutorial on how to find an email address on YouTube. I'm just going to do this. So welcome to the tutorial, everybody. Just have your browsers ready. It doesn't matter whether it's Chrome or Firefox. Just have them ready. So when you're going to the Mark Reed channel, and that's like youtube.com/channel/@MarkReed, you can use that or the other code for it. You will have the Mark Reed part up here. If you click on the More button next to the videos and the name and everything, you'll pull up a box saying About. If you go down the box, you'll say View Email Address. Now, this might be difficult, but you have to prove that you're not a robot most of the time. So there is the email address right there. So just showing yes, 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 you can get to the email address. If you're not clicking up here, though, you're not going to find it. Okay, so that's how you get to an email address on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I'll close the stream down now.
Just proves that the majority of your audience is bots.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I suspected it, but this is confirmation. What should I do if I'm a robot? No, get out of here, Maximiliano, you robot. What are you doing? Sorry, what's up, Leo?
I wanted to know if I could quickly add on to what Issa had said there about him like bringing up the whole conspiracy against intelligent design.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, just quickly. If it's quick,
no I just wanted to say that it's almost like he's never considered that maybe the position is wrong, and we know that it's wrong, and we've known that it's wrong for a very long time, and so we're not going to study it, we're not going to fund it, we're not going to teach it, we're not going to promote it, and that's why it's not studied, funded, taught, or promoted, rather than it's right, but we have to suppress the truth because we hate God.
I've talked to some evolutionary biologists, and if you could actually disprove any part of evolution, like that would be groundbreaking and everyone would absolutely welcome it. But
yes,
it's just too robust.
It'd be fascinating. You'd guarantee everyone work for the next 3 decades.
Oh yeah.
But I want to go to Doc Dino because we've been waiting on long enough. How is your dig going? As firstly, what I want to know.
I mean, fieldwork's going pretty good. I'm not digging. I legally can't. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm looking for dinosaur bones out in Wyoming, and it's fun so far. Though it's hot. It hit 100 Fahrenheit today, and the area I'm in is surprisingly humid, more humid than I remembered. So it was toasty.
Okay. Can I say something?
No. Well, I want to get Doc Dino's Dr.
Sure.
Dino, sorry's view on the debate and any constructive feedback or any criticism. Definitely, especially on my side, I do want to hear how I can improve.
Sure. I don't have too many criticisms, honestly. I think you handled it pretty well. I wasn't sure where you were going at the start of your opening, but I think you took your beginning and blended it pretty well into the rest of your presentation. Thought it was a pretty good presentation. It kept things simple and easy for people to understand. Would have been nice if he had a presentation to help people follow along with his train of words. But I don't know. You can really tell when someone gets all of their biology information from creationist sources.
Yep.
They suck at biology. Name a trait that makes humans not apes. Good luck. That's about it. I said most. I'm not going to say most. A lot of my criticisms of him through the chat.
No, that's fair. And you did send a few chats in, so I did notice those. So
did you get my message on Discord?
No, I haven't even looked at Discord. It's terrible of me, but I was in Do Not Disturb for the debate.
Yeah, someone in chat managed to track down his article, which actually I do want to comment on that.
Oh, I think
That was
actual
so
Earl
cagey.
track-
Him
Oh.
not being able to give a citation. Just
Oh,
that was
it's
so-
what he does. We covered it before you guys joined, and it's just what he does. For a guy that calls himself Evidence of God, he never has a link at the ready. Never.
like just authors, title, year, journal. That's it. That's all you got to do. It takes 10 seconds. And the summary's pretty basic. It basically they found the study found retroviral sequences in both gorillas and chimpanzees that, using the molecular clock, they traced back to about 3 to 4 million years ago and appear to have arisen from the same or a very similar viral outbreak during that time. And
so it was
that outbreak didn't infect humans. That's it, if I understood it right.
Yeah. So it was a what do they call it? God, I've forgotten the name for a viral insertion that's not through germline. Semantic viral insertion.
No, I think it was germline. Like it's the
Okay.
same retroviral sequence found in chimps and gorillas, but it's in different places.
Different places, gotcha. So yeah, so that's not so yeah, so we're not saying that the ones in different places have to be part of the same lineage. That's the whole point. The ones that are similar are in the same places and the same virus. Wow,
Yeah,
okay,
and-
yeah.
Yeah, the paper was
It's
talking
very-
about 2 independent infections that happened
Yeah.
in those lineages.
Yeah, and of course he can't provide the paper, so I can't look at it at all. Which is
I
frustrating
can
because
find you the link if you want.
okay. Yes, please. Hello, Dustin.
Someone
How
new.
you doing?
Not bad. You gave my question all of 2 seconds before you dismissed it, and I will
Which was
have
your
to
question?
also add a. There was 2 of them, but one of them
Okay.
was one of them ended up being a phone glitch. My phone's acting kind of funny. I meant to switch the 2. If you look at the ear of Littlefoot, right, it's meant for a quadruped, although the skeletal structure is meant to be bipedal. Can you explain the mismatch?
Littlefoot is an Australopithecus afarensis. Their skeletal structure is not, like you said, quadruped, I believe, in the thing. They're not even knuckle walkers. So I don't know
Right.
what you mean by meant to be, because that's not how they're configured.
So, all right. Let me try and twist the vernacular here. Then let me try and see if I can be more specific with my words.
Also, really quick, paper sent to you, Mark.
So the specimen of Littlefoot is a female 1.2 to 1.3 meters tall, whose lower limbs are longer than its upper limbs. Its hips are modern and capable of transmitting great force from its legs, and its hands are very large. Its body suggests a bipedal gait, and at the same time it had a great ability to climb trees. Now, where in all of that do I find it's meant to be quadruped?
No, the ears. The ears are meant for the inner balancing system of the ear is meant to be quadrupedal, and you're saying that it was what is it? It was bipedal or quadrupedal?
Yeah.
I can't remember which one
No,
it was.
bipedal.
Bipedal.
Sorry, could
right.
you provide a source for that, just out of curiosity? Because that doesn't make much sense to me.
As a matter of fact, I can, if it's still
Okay.
on my search engine.
Because I don't believe there's much of a difference between the inner ear structures of most quadrupeds and bipeds, other than, well,
There's
depends.
definitely there's a difference when it comes to balance. There's definitely a difference when it comes to balance.
There can be. It depends on how you're walking.
There is. There absolutely is.
I just wanted to follow up really quick with Andrew Cummings, meant to be, because I'm probably as equally confused by that phraseology as he is. Just a little philosophical point of contention here. Meant to be, that word meant there, that's going to be some sort of like normative terminology. And science, like the natural. I'm sorry, but I haven't finished speaking. And science, that like just the physical natural world, which would include evolution, is descriptive. Like we can describe what happens. There's nothing prescribed there. There's nothing that was meant to be or that it ought to be. Those terms don't apply when we talk about the natural world.
All right.
think
Do
it's just
you want to go
language.
over this with a backhoe some more? Or look, what I'm getting at is that you have
Yeah.
mismatching on parts. Okay, you have the inner ear working for a biped a quadruped when you have a bipedal body structure. That in my mind points to an evolutionary problem that needs to be clarified. Now, if you want to get philosophical and start talking about grammar and sentence structure, we can go through all of that. But
Okay, so
I think I
this
would
is-
like to
That
just
wasn't my
address the point of the
I'm not
question.
surprised it went
Well,
over.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
care
I'm
what your
addressing
point
it.
is.
No, Dustin, Leo, stop. Okay, because I found an article on it. Littlefoot's inner ear sheds light on her movement and behavior, right?
I
The
believe
inner ear
that's
hominin valuable information about the hearing mood, what their hearing capabilities were. Which scientists and colleagues have been able to virtually extract the inner ear of the Australopithecus known as Littlefoot. A description of the inner ear was published today in the Journal of Human Evolution. It was compared with 17 hominin species, Australopithecus, Paranthropus, and Homo dating between 1.8 and as well as 10 chimpanzees and 10 modern humans. Overall, Littlefoot's inner ear has both ape-like and human-like features because the inner ear canals in the cochlea provide different results. The semicircular canals in Littlefoot are different than both modern humans and from Paranthropus, a genus of extinct hominins that lived at the same time as the first humans. The Paranthropus canals have a very specific shape that is not shared with any of the fossil specimens. By contrast, we found that Littlefoot's inner ear canals are close to those of chimpanzees. They differ from modern human inner ear canals in the modern humans' canals evolved for unique activities such as running. The study also shows a large diversity in the shape of the inner ear among the Australopithecus species, which could suggest a high degree of variation in locomotor behavior in this group. Our analysis of the inner ear might be compatible with the hypothesis that Littlefoot and the Australopithecus specimens in general were walking on two legs on the ground, but also spent some time in the trees. None of this is talking about them walking on all fours.
I
Okay,
didn't bring
and-
up this.
Oh wait,
I'm
Mark,
trying to-
there's a citation to a paper there. Could you copy that at the very bottom?
Yeah.
Could you copy the
Yeah.
DOI and put it in the chat?
Yeah.
Because
Digital
what I'm getting
object
from that,
identifier.
what was that?
Digital object identifier.
Dustin, if I'm understanding you right, you think that this is a bit of a contradiction, like a contradiction between the morphology and inner ear structure?
You have a body frame that's meant for climbing in trees, but you have the ears that are meant to for structure of running. I mean, there's an issue in evolutionary terms here. How did the ears evolve to run?
No, they're not evolved to run. That's the thing. They're saying that they hang on, Dustin. They're saying that they moved upright, but they also spent time in the trees. That humans have evolved for running. Walking on two legs and running are different, but that doesn't mean the thing walking on two legs is not bipedal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so here's where a bit of a bit of knowledge in Australopithecine physiology comes in. So Australopithecines are different than modern humans and modern chimps. Males and females are actually very sexually dimorphic, and it appears that the females generally had a lot of adaptations for climbing in trees. So they would have still been really good at climbing trees, even though they could walk on the ground. Her inner ear is reflecting that. She would have still been really good at climbing and really good at swinging through the trees. But she could still walk upright. That's what they're saying.
Yeah,
so
that doesn't sound right to me. The body structure is different than the ear structure.
I don't really care what it sounds like to you. Dustin, what I'm asking you, hold it. Dustin, what I'm asking you for, I've provided a citation to where they've said, hey, their ear canal's more like a chimpanzee's, and they were still bipedal, but also spent a lot of time in the trees. Could you give me a citation to your claim where you say they were quadruped, they have a quadruped's ear, but they were bipedal? Could you give me some sort of backup to what you're saying?
If it's still in my search history, I can. I was looking for it, and then somebody asked a question.
Sorry, I don't mean to be harsh with you, but I've had a lack of citations today, and it's kind of getting a bit irritating that people are saying, hey, they found this and they found that, but refuse to give any kind of link.
But to a degree, the paper you just cited actually kind of agrees with me to a degree. They're saying that there's features. They're saying that there's features that align with human and chimpanzee.
So,
okay,
so Dustin,
Can I finish?
I'm reading from the original paper rather than the article Mark read through, because sometimes the articles misrepresent things. The paper is saying that the inner ear morphology is different from modern humans, but still similar to other Australopithecines and Paranthropines, so Paranthropus. It's not saying anything about it being more like a quadruped. The inference they're making is that
looking at
it's
an article
better at
that he
climbing.
referenced. I still haven't brought up.
I read.
You haven't provided a
also,
source, so this is what we have to work with.
This wasn't my main question.
No,
That was
it's
my
not saying
secondary
that.
question.
Well, no, Dustin, we're not going to let you off just saying, hey, they found
I'm
this,
not
they
trying
found
to
that.
get off.
Show
I'm
it.
not trying to get off. You guys won't let me answer.
Okay.
You just keep like plowing right in there, man. Like I can't even take a defensive position.
Talk.
You guys I'm
Read the whole
trying.
article.
You won't let me.
Okay, everybody, let Dustin talk. What is it that you've got to say to back this up?
Which way do you want me to go with this? Do you want me to pull up a citation, or do you want me to answer questions?
But no one's asked you a question.
He
We just
just-
asked you to back up your claim.
Okay, I'm looking for the citation that I was looking for earlier. Hold on.
Evolution go.
In the meantime, to not to get dead air.
Pull up Science Direct. It's right there, and under the abstract, if you just read this all to us, and show us where it says they were a quadrupedal, it's right there. Just read under the abstract. I'm just pulling up. Go ahead and read it.
I have
just
a
show
question.
us where it says quadrupedal. Just show us.
Well, I have a question.
Okay, well, let him search. Don't be too nasty. Isa, what's your question?
Well, my question is, if this proves that it was quadrupedal versus bipedal, would that then disprove evolution? That's what I'm wondering. Does this?
No. I wanted that wasn't a question for to prove or disprove. I wanted an explanation. That was an explanation question. The disprove or prove was related to transplants and specific animals. But that's another question for later on when I finally find. I'm looking for the reference.
Okay. Well, Max, if you can take over briefly, I'm going to be right back. I got to get my phone.
Yes.
Just one second.
One thing, we did get a callback on an issue that came up on the debate with Grayson about the slime molds. And I thought of one thing, and I can't really comment too much on the chat while I'm moderating, but the thing is that slime molds don't really have consciousness. And there's another thing that you can do. Water can solve mazes the same way that slime molds do. So it's really not a really good point. And I didn't think of this in the previous debate. I just thought of this today. But it's really kind of like a moot point, bringing up those slime molds. And when you're ready to go, Dustin, let us know and we can jump right back into it. But dead air is really not a good thing on stream. Yeah. So,
and even when even if the slime molds can be shown to have a level or two better maze solving than the water did. That's just reacting to stimuli, right? I mean, I'm sure there's there's some sort of thing at the end of the maze, right? They're not just solving mazes for fun. So there's some
Right.
sort of stimulus at the end of the maze that those slime molds are trying to get to, and that's not unexpected. That's not we would expect that.
Okay, look, for clarification, this question that was in reference to the debate was for clarification as to why, and the reference is in the chat now. The human ancestor walked more like a chimpanzee, and it referenced to the ear. Okay, so yeah, I was confused. I wasn't trying to get you in a gotcha moment. That was a question for clarification. The gotcha question was the one before this one.
Well, just a sec. I'll just address that first off because it just links back to the same article that I showed everybody, where it says that they will
you
walk
see how it
bipedally.
says? Yeah.
Well, just let me finish. Let me finish. It walked bipedally,
Okay.
but they spent time in the trees. That's what it linked to.
Right. And that's why I was confused, because this was either a human ancestor or it was a some form of monkey. And this was a clarification question. This wasn't a gotcha question. The gotcha question was the one before.
Okay. Well, you sort of said that I brushed it off, and what I said was that you're wrong about them walking quadrupedally, is what I said. So I'm not sure.
No, actually,
how much it's brushing off when you're sort of wrong about the details. It seems like, well,
what I
you've made some assumptions in the question that I shouldn't grant.
Mark, what I said was, you brushed off my question after 2 seconds of thought, and I have to add a caveat to the other question. Almost verbatim is exactly what I said to you.
Yeah,
so
I didn't brush
was
off the question.
referencing
I
two
just
questions.
said that you were wrong.
Yeah, the second question. Yes, I know. That's why I went straight to that question, because I was wrong. I switched the two bipedal and quadrupedal and put them in the wrong spot. So you were correct when you said that that was a fallacious question. That's why I went there to qualify it and clarify that it was a clarification question. The previous question in reference was if monkeys or apes or chimpanzees, because it's been done with all the various species, are related to humans. Why are transplants from these animals rejected, whereas from pigs they are actually accepted? And if you tell me that there's a difference between the body types, it's like there's no difference between a pig and a human. I mean, can we maybe, I don't know, explain that one?
Well, I gave a number of reasons, actually. Basically, it's cross-species transplantation. We look at a lot of different things to use them. So I said, for instance, pigs are much closer to humans in terms of size and pumping blood around the body, right? So a chimpanzee doesn't necessarily have the best heart, because if you think of the size of a chimpanzee, it's not anywhere like a human. But a pig can grow massive like a human can. They are much better fit for that.
It's been done with apes, though, too. It's been done with apes that are way bigger than humans.
I haven't finished, Dustin. If you could just hold until I'm finished. The other reason I gave was because most apes are endangered, and we don't just kill them to take their organs for humans because they are endangered. It's a lot better to use something that's really not endangered, in this case, a domestic pig. And I believe those pigs are sort of bred and modified to be a good, suitable candidate for a human. But we can't just kill gorillas and take their hearts. Another reason maybe, and I'm a bit unsure about this, so I didn't mention in the debate, but another reason may be cross-infection, that chimpanzees and other apes carry various diseases that can really cause humans a lot of harm. Sorry, Doc, did you have something to add?
Yeah. So kind of to add to what Mark said. So a chimp heart could hypothetically work. Chimpanzees are in the size range where the heart could pump the blood capacity needed for a human. It could work. The
Why not?
problem
You need a
is,
very big chimp, like one of them. The chimp would have to be
I mean,
massive.
like a male chimp can weigh over 150 pounds.
I suppose so.
Anyway, so in my home state of Iowa, there are over 20 million pigs. That's in one state. Whereas there are less
You're
than
from Iowa?
300,000 chimpanzees worldwide. So it would
Mhm.
make a lot more sense to use a pig if it works. We have tested it and it does
no.
work. We can do it without rejection. And not kill a highly endangered species that would also cause a massive public outcry because of how similar they are to humans.
I am also from Iowa.
One thing is that we also don't get full organs. We get heart valves from pigs and other bits and pieces. There, you don't ever get like a full organ from another animal.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
we
It
can
is
even
usually
face
just the valve.
we can even face rejection when you're getting a transplant from a compatible human.
Other human,
You can also get rejection, and you can get graft versus host and other autoimmune diseases. So it's not a gotcha question. It's just actually you're displaying a little bit of ignorance on the subject of transplant and what we actually do with this medical procedure.
I wouldn't say ignorance. It's a valid question. I just don't think
it
it's
is
a
a good
gotcha.
question. Yeah.
I only ever get cyst
I mean,
plants.
But I think
it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, can I explain my confusion?
Okay.
So in any transplant that you're looking for body parts between a recipient and a donor, there has to be genetic compatibility, right? So and the most likely to be genetically compatible is a relative. So if we're looking at transplants, right, and the reason that a transplant won't take is because of genetic compatibility rather than the mechanics of it, then why hasn't there been any? I mean, we have examples in history where there has been attempted ape, monkey, chimpanzee, gorilla, all different animal types of transplants. It's under rare conditions, but it has actually happened, and it doesn't work. So
it does work.
What do you mean, for like the first 15 seconds?
No.
At least that's all the research I've come across.
It depends.
I'm sorry, are you
what...
saying like interfamily organ transplants don't work?
No, that's not what I said. No, I said between a monkey and a human, or a gorilla and a human, or a chimpanzee and a human. The most closest relatives to us, and the transplants are rejected. Whereas we can transplant, or even if you're trying to say a part of a pig's body part, whatever, the thing is that it's accepted genetic information, and the body uses it. Whereas if it's from a monkey that's supposedly closer related to us, that's rejected.
Oh, yeah. So what it is that there has been like transplants like from chimpanzee to human, and a patient died, but that was back in 1964. What we do have is pigs with genetic modifications to prevent an immunoresponse, right? So basically we modify them so they don't provide an immunoresponse to the human biological system when it gets transplanted, so there's less danger of rejection. But they still do get rejected. And ideally we want to find a humans, but the whole point is that we don't breed millions of chimpanzees. They're not readily available. That's basically it.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a
no, but
supply and an ethics issue. Like it's that
but
simple.
the reasons during the autopsies, during the few times that it has been attempted, are because of genetic incompatibility.
I mean, this was 1964. Lobotomies were still being performed. It might go better with modern medicine, with actual drugs that help prevent rejection. Just saying.
I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. For at some point, someone's going to try it, I'm sure. But
Well, no. What
I-
we've
I
done is
just-
we've genetically modified pigs to be able to use their organs with less chance of rejection. So that's what we've
and
done.
you're telling me that's because of more commonality of the test subjects.
Dustin,
Not because they're genetically related
Dustin,
somehow. That
you
doesn't make any
saying-
sense to me. I'm sorry.
Are you saying why we can't use chimps? Because if we are genetically similar to chimps, why we can't use their organ? Is that your point?
My
Yes,
point
that's
is, if we're able to transplant between pig and human, regardless of your genetic modification and your medicine, why it shouldn't be more compatible or even entirely feasible, because they're the closest genetic relatives to us. We have interhuman transplants between people that aren't even related, and it will hold up.
We
Yes,
are genetically close to the chimpanzees. We also genetically close to the pigs. The difference between pigs and the chimps, we've been used chimps herds in 1964, but the person only survived for a couple of days and he died because he was genetically incompatible. And the morphology of the herd was not similar to the human. But pig herd morphology is pretty close to the human. That's the reason they genetically modified and used that. And it works for 2-3 months, but it's still the person died. So there is no reason to make this type of assertions and just try to bring it up.
I didn't make an assertion. I asked a question.
Okay, I got you. All right, sounds good.
Okay, did you have any other questions, Dustin, or were those just the two?
No, I just wanted clarification. I didn't feel like you gave it enough time.
Well, I gave a couple of reasons why we don't use chimp things, and I will stick to those. Like I think that they are very, very good reasons.
Minus the body to weight ratio of a chimpanzee could be possibly compatible with that of a 150-pound human.
I have a question. Since humans are literally the same species as us, because we're also humans, why don't we just harvest humans for organs? Like,
well, that's not.
Yeah,
that wasn't
no,
my question, and that wasn't the.
I mean, like harvest humans, not like people volunteer. I mean, like, yeah, like
you're talking like a
round them up.
Yeah, it seems super ethical. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But it doesn't matter because they're so close to us because we're the same. We might as well just harvest humans. Like,
no,
hey,
well, but all parsimonious aside,
all the priests
to the point, you were grossly undermatched in that debate. You slapped him around. I mean, I have to pay credit where it's due. You did a really good job in that debate. You stood up for your position. You provided actual information and facts. I just wanted clarification on my question.
So you basically are creationist. So my question is, why do you guys need interpretation? Why your God doesn't clear on their own subjects, on their claims?
Well, that's a little off topic, Bitter.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. Let's stick on evolution, human evolution, because that was the topic of the debate. But Dustin, I'd like to ask you sort of what would convince you that human evolution is true? Like what would you need apart from all of this scientific evidence to sort of be convinced that it's actually true?
I don't necessarily see scientific evidence. I see people that are glad handing each other. I mean, look, dude, like you explain to me any one of these papers that wouldn't require some form of a degree that I would need in order to understand. I mean, these articles that we read, I can understand, right? But the subpapers, I've got to have 7 years of college to crack. I mean,
Isn't that the
why
point,
you
though?
take something simple?
No,
What do you mean?
Dustin,
you
Well,
need
hold
a
it,
bunch
hold
of
it.
studying to write the paper, but if you put in the work, if you understand the concepts, if you look the words that you don't understand up, then you can understand it without having that education. I didn't go to college and I understand a lot of that.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah,
education
that's
to
true.
write a paper.
Yeah,
But it's sort of
Bro,
like
I've been
saying,
reading and trying.
but Dustin,
I've been
just
reading and
let me say
trying to
one
educate
thing.
myself.
Well, just let me say one thing. It's like saying, well, why do I need to go and study as a mechanic in order to understand, cars or something, right? You don't have to, but that's the best way to get a complete understanding of how it all works is to go and
You
study
do have
it,
to at least study cars.
taught by somebody. Well, you can teach yourself how cars work
Yeah.
and stuff, but
Mhm.
it's a lot harder, right? It's a lot harder than actually going and say, apprenticing with a mechanic or something and learning it from somebody else, sure.
Or
But it is
automotive
possible.
technician programs, usually about 1 or 2
Yeah.
years long.
But I mean, it's a lot harder, Dustin. So I think that doesn't Harvard do an open learning for this kind of stuff?
I know
mean,
MIT
I've
does. MIT OpenCourseWare. I've used them more than once.
Yeah.
I remember, Mark. I just saw you show chromosome 2A and 2B fusion, which is a concrete evidence of human evolution. I remember back of the days, the creationists, they were laughing
Sure.
us, and they were just talking about, oh, the chimp has 48 chromosome. How come human have only 46? And they are saying that we are similar to the chimps, but just take a look at the telomere in the middle, and it's a concrete evidence of fusion. And that's where we come to know that yes, those chromosomes fuse, and that's how the life diverge.
I just went to YouTube and typed in MIT OpenCourseWare Biology, and right here, MIT 7.016 Introductory Biology, Fall 2018. It's the full course.
There you go.
And it has never been easier
Yeah.
than today to learn any of the stuff. You have people on YouTube
Yeah.
literally explaining courses that in many places you would have to pay for, and they do it for free. It has never been easier to learn anything you want at all. There's usually some nerd somewhere in the world explaining it to you.
Sorry, on
Well,
that note,
how does
oftentimes
Silva song
those
race?
oftentimes those interested nerds are the people who write the papers. Like,
Yes.
you can reach out to these people and ask them for an explanation, and most of them would be more than happy to give it to you.
Yeah, they're
I can
nerds.
say
They
that
love
from
talking about it.
experience.
Yeah, they love talking about it. I found another one, Fundamentals of Biology, another one, Systems Biology. Full courses right there.
But I will have to say,
I
Dustin,
look.
that it's pretty complex and hard to understand. That's why people spend years and years studying it, because it isn't just, well, I'm going to learn how to play cricket or something. I'm
Oh, of
just going to
course.
learn the rules. It's kind of like these people, nobody just goes, well, I'm going to pick up programming just overnight. It requires a lot of study. And if you want to do it well,
And
it
practice.
requires a lot of study and practice. And that's why we can't learn everything ourselves. We have to rely on experts who study this stuff, because I can't learn everything. Nobody can learn everything. And so we kind of leave it to the people. Like, I leave my car to the mechanic because I don't understand a damn thing about cars. And, maybe I should know more. I probably should know more, but I don't. And I find it very difficult. So, we specialize.
It's the
What we
way that
do.
I learned physics. I've been studying it for about a little over a decade now. And I mean, one of the first video series on YouTube that I looked into was the Theoretical Minimum series. There's a bunch of them that Leonard Susskind at Stanford has done. He's done one on special relativity, general relativity, classical mechanics, quantum mechanics, particle physics, electromagnetism. I mean, and these are like 10, 12 videos, an hour and a half to 2.5 hours long. I mean, granted, you have to have some basic understanding of mathematics and things like that, but those are also things that one could learn. And it does take time. You have to study these things. You have to practice them. Like with math, you're not going to pick math up just reading. You've got to actually do it. You've got to do math if you really want to pick it up. And it requires work.
Evolution and evolution, that makes sense to me, because now we can see we got mutation. We have harmful mutation, we have neutral mutation, we also do have a beneficial mutation. That's where we are getting better and better, because we are adapting the environment. If you don't have mutation, you cannot adapt the environment, and you should be you should went extinct. As opposed of the religion, they are just talking about the stories. There is no base, no single evidence, Adam or Eve, and the virgin birth of Jesus Christ. There is no single evidence. So we believe in evidence. If the religion are really originally from the God, then the God is gonna give us the fact, and the fact is going to be tested now or millions of years later. Still it will be a fact. It cannot be false.
Okay, I just want to jump in here. I want to give a big thank you to Barnaby Wild, $5, smartest people I've seen in one place for a while. Thank you, Barnaby. I really appreciate it. I look smarter by comparison having these people around me. I really do. I'll just copy what Leo says, and I'm sure I'll look very smart. There you go, Leo. Gave you a big plug. And from Maximiliano Visha for Singaporean, $14.98. But then whenever a scientist put concepts into easier grasp terms, such as DNA is like a code, these people find it a way to use it to justify their position any harder. Yeah, and I'll look back to what Doc said. Sometimes when you read an article, it sort of says these concepts in very, very general and loose terms. Science communication is often geared towards somebody that doesn't know anything about science. So they will use these terms. And then, it's taken out of context by people. And that's not just creationists, that's everybody. Like, it's amazing how often the news purports, this study found a cure for cancer or a cure for this, or they did this thing. And the actual paper says nothing of the sort and is very tentative in its findings. So we've got a problem with science communication, as in, how to present it in such a way that is accurate, but not, but still able to be understood by ordinary people like you and me. Absolutely, there's that
Not
problem.
sacrificing
I mean,
accuracy
it's-
for simplicity. It's
right,
hard to do.
right.
It's
It's a balancing act.
like saying DNA as a code is like any other euphemism. Like, you could say evidence of God tonight was like a greased pig when Mark tried to get him to cite a source.
But
It
that's
wasn't
not
literally a pig
Look.
covered in butter.
Look,
but
I don't.
He
Actually,
slipped away the same, or he
Look,
tried.
somebody in the audience said he was lying, and maybe I'm naive. I didn't think he was, and I said so. I don't think he is. I think he just has a faith position, read something, misinterpreted that thing, and then relayed it as his misinterpretation. I Killed Earl found the paper, said no, that is not what the paper's conclusion says, kind of thing. So I don't think he was lying. I do think he was completely wrong and perhaps misrepresenting the text. But I don't think he was trying to be deceptive. I just don't think so.
But
Okay.
maybe not
So
lying,
that is
but
fair.
it's a sort of.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
well, sorry, that's fair, Mark.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying that was the impression I got. I could have been incorrect.
Oh, look, I'm not directing that at you.
It looked like he was trying to wriggle away like a greased pig.
Well, I'm not directing that at you, Doc. I'm directing that at someone actually sent in a super chat saying he is lying, kind of thing. And I just feel like a lot of creationists, they just get the wrong end of the paper basically and misinterpret it. And they're sort of, when you're going out to look for a conclusion, we all know this, right? When you have a conclusion and go and read something, confirmation bias will set in. And you will look for the conclusion that you're after. That's why we need peer review.
Confirmation bias, basically. So, and a lot of cherry picking. So maybe it's not lying, but it seems to be evidence of God's MO to do precisely that. And he's shown that very same thing across 4 debates with 4 different people, and seems to find one piece of evidence that says something tangentially similar to what he thinks, and he just grabs onto it and seems to think that, for example, that everyone should be able to inspect these bones, or at least that's the impression that I get. he says like, oh, they keep the bones hidden. No, you need some credentials to do that. The same way they won't let you just go into an operating room and start opening up a heart for someone. But it seems to be his MO to do the cherry picking and confirmation bias all at one. Maybe it isn't fair to call it lying because he truly believes, it shows that he truly believes these things, but he's not coming from the most defensible position, let's say.
Right.
Can I comment on that really quickly?
Yeah,
Of course. Yeah.
Because I mean, I agree with all of that, and just to sort of tack on at the end, this is something else that I think is very important to learning, particularly self-learning, and it might even be one of the most important things, is that you need humility. You need to recognize that there are people who understand this better than you probably ever fucking will, and that if your positions aren't in alignment with those people, that the chances that the reason for that are that you're just wrong, rather than that all of these people who definitively understand the subject better than you are wrong, is the most
is the
likely
subject
answer for that.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure, go ahead.
What is the consequence of being right or wrong in this particular situation? I mean, in all
on
honesty,
evolution.
Or are we going Pascal's wager or what?
No. I mean, you could frame it that way, but that's not my question. My question is, what is the consequence of you being right?
Like, correct
in all
about
honesty,
evolution?
if we look beyond the death aspect of this, right? What are you talking about? Bragging rights?
I'm
no,
not
just
understanding what specifically you're. Are you
okay.
asking
I
about
think
correct
I'm
on evolution?
I think I understand what you're asking. You're sort of saying what is the consequence if we're right on evolution versus wrong on evolution. As for
I mean, like in all honesty, if ignorance is bliss, I go the rest of my life without
Right.
having to know anything of what you guys are talking about. What is the
Yes.
consequence for me?
You don't understand the world very well.
Well, not only that, but we have to have people
what's the
to.
actual like what?
Well,
I can actually provide something.
Let me talk.
Sorry.
You may make decisions that are not in line with the way that the world actually is, because we have a lot of people who understand this, that use that information to make medicine and understand viruses and understand how things develop. So it may be that you make decisions that are not actually aligned with how the world actually is and is aligned with what you think it is. So if you are wrong about it, you may make some seriously bad choices because you're denying. Don't forget, evolution is one of the two backbones, one of the two fundamental pillars of medicine, right? So you're basically going, what's the consequences for me not understanding medicine properly?
Well,
if I may,
I'll make a caveat with.
Well, it has closer to home implications than just you might help contribute to an outbreak or something.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like if you get, say, an ear infection, your doctor might prescribe you with more medication than you really need, and they'll tell you to take all of it. The reason why they do that is to help make sure the infection is gone, but you might think they're full of crap and decide, oh, I've taken half this, I feel better, I won't take it anymore, and now you're deaf. Happened to my grandpa.
Shit.
I also
Stuff like that
think
happens.
there's
You should
epistemological concerns as well, right? Like what you're willing to accept based off of, the testimony of experts and
Yeah. That plays into what Mark, I think, was getting at. And I just wanted to comment on that a little bit because I think he's spot the fuck on. And a really good example of what Mark is talking about is like, look at climate change. There are people that are like, oh, no, the climate's not changing and we're not causing it. And there's no issue because God had never let that happen to us. So having a specific understanding of reality that doesn't like match what reality actually is can lead to very harmful things, either due to overreaction or lack of action or whatever it may be. And this is why understanding the world as it is much, much better than not having an understanding of it at all.
Can I speak
As
for
it
the
is. I
layman? Because
mean,
I don't
so
have a
so
degree. I didn't go to college.
I
But
don't either.
I get
you
I get a lovely pleasure from just knowing stuff. I
Yeah.
just like learning. It boosts my confidence. It just makes me happy. So for me,
Mhm.
as a regular person, understanding how these people go about their incredible research and they give us marvels of technology and they help cure disease and they improve other people's lives, just knowing how they did it gives me a layman's pleasure. So even for just to know is a good thing. It improves your life.
I agree with all of that.
Ooh, I'm reluctant to jump in because I have a theist's perspective. But as I understand Nicholas Copernicus, he believed that, like, if God is truth, then our understanding of the natural world brings us closer to that truth. It brings us closer to God. So if your perspective is, does it matter if God exists, if we believe in something that's true or not? I would still argue that our comprehension of the natural world is still deeply rooted in the theist concept of what is true and what is right. So I feel like to kind of just hand wave it away and say, like, what are we losing by being wrong on something, because maybe your perspective could be from that of a faithful person. I feel like you'd be missing out on what Copernicus was stating.
I actually think that's a
if
really
I can
good point.
tack onto that, there are organisms that live their entire life without any concept of cross communication, or the idea of consequence itself.
Yeah, we're
They
very
don't care
privileged.
about whether or not they were involved. I mean,
We do.
well, and that may mean more about you than it does about the other organism. But the
I think
bigger
it does.
picture is that there is but the bigger
Well,
picture is that there is no consequence to the organism for not knowing what evolution is.
well, not now, but like humans and our awareness of who we are and how we fit into the environment has seen us dominate the entire planet. So if you, like, the
Well,
organisms that you're
if you
describing
look
that
at it
have
from the
no, hold
perspective,
on, Dustin, no. If you're sort of looking at it from, well, I'd rather be a ignorant, sea cucumber that has no idea what's going on and lives probably a nasty, brutal, short life, well, that's one thing. But if you want, like, I see humans have an incredible privilege to be smart enough to know not just that they're here and who they are and what they're doing. We can extrapolate into the future, and we're actually doing things to, leave the planet and stuff. I mean, it's incredible privilege to have that level of awareness. I don't see why we would go, well, I wish I was a sea cucumber kind of thing. I don't get it.
I don't
we
want to pay
have
taxes anymore. Turn
examples.
me into a sea cucumber.
Well,
Look, it's a valid
for
argument.
real though.
if I may,
For real though, there.
Tyler said,
We'll just let Dustin respond to it, and I'll go right to you.
Yeah,
Doc,
because I
afterwards.
have
Go,
a
Doc.
rebuttal for that. No,
Okay.
I think that there's another example of an organism that far out surpasses man, and that's called a virus. I mean, as far as our technological prowess, I mean, we are unmatched when it comes to our technological prowess, but there are more viruses per human than there are anything else.
Isn't that
So,
just because
yeah,
viruses have been around way longer than
Yeah, basically.
humans?
But
And there's going
then
to
if
be
you want
other
to get
like
technical about it,
reproduction, limitations on humans. There's a 9-month
what's
incubation
the
period, and
more
we commonly only give rise to one other human when
what's
that
the more superior
happens.
organism?
Well,
Well, how
What's
are
the
we
more
superior?
I mean, if
superior
we're
here?
if
I
we're
mean,
being
Dolphins.
if we're being real strict about our categorizations, viruses are not organisms, but
And they're not alive.
That's
Dolphins.
very true.
They're not alive.
Okay,
well, that depends.
they're definitely reproducible.
yeah, but they're not
Yeah,
made of
but not
cells.
on their own.
They're not made of cells.
Yeah, no,
So-
they're not cells.
So
Well,
I
okay,
do
but
want to comment on what Tyler
Yeah, like, go
said.
to Doc. I did promise that would go to Doc.
The idea of getting to know nature to better understand God or God's creation. That was a core philosophy for, in my particular field, for many paleontologists and geologists. Like, that's how they worshipped God, was by studying what they viewed as his creation. Now, I'm not going to comment on if their faith was correct or not. That's not my discussion. I think that that's fine. If that's what drives your curiosity,
Yeah.
go for it.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I brought it up. as it was- Oops,
I
sorry.
find it weird that you want to be a virus, Dustin. I'm sorry. Look, it might just be me.
That's
I'm
not.
not going to
I
tell you
didn't
what to think,
say
but-
that. That's
He
that's
kind
not
of
what I
turns.
said. I said that viruses are
He's just making fun of you.
okay.
Now
He
that
kinda
you
turned-
bring the topic of viruses, do you think that an all benevolent God would make like a parasite that feeds off of the liquid inside your eye and leaves you blind? Do you think that that is the
Absolutely.
mark
The
of
same
a
way I think a
benevolent?
God would
Hold
make.
on, hold on, I wasn't done. Do you think that is the mark of a benevolent God that wants the best for you?
I mean,
Oh, the good
I
old
don't know
problems
what
of-
the best would actually be. You know, I mean, you guys make these pronouncements about, you know, your judgments of
I didn't make a
Of,
pronouncement. I made a question.
you, yeah, which was based on a pronouncement of whether or not God had my best intentions, right?
Yes,
So-
but no, it wasn't a pronouncement. It was a question. Do you think that God has your best interest in mind when he created specifically a parasite that feeds off of the liquid inside your eye until you're blind?
Yes, the same way I believe that a God would make a spider that would do the same thing to a fly.
Okay.
The concept of predation, yeah, that's been talked about within problem of evil discussions in philosophy of religion for a long time. Why would God not just make all life like using photosynthesis or something? Why would he allow something like predation, where, you know, a lion mauls the shit out of a gazelle and starts just absolutely devouring it before it's even fully dead? Why? What does he gain from making it this way? This seems way more expected under naturalism than under perfect being theism.
I mean, are you asking from perspective of whether or not the lion should die?
No, I'm asking from the perspective of why does the concept of predation exist in the first place?
I mean, is there any difference between that lion eating a gazelle and you eating a salad?
No, there's not.
Salad was alive, wasn't it?
Both you could consider forms of predation. I must kill and consume life forms to continue to survive. But why would a
Right.
morally perfect and all-powerful God create a world like that?
But plants
I
don't
mean,
do
do
that.
you
They photosynthesize. That's Leo's point.
Yeah, like why don't we have like grass instead of hair on the tops of our heads that we can use for photosynthesis for energy, and then we don't have to kill and consume other living creatures, whether plant or animal or other, for our food?
I mean,
Oh, I just had a good
I
idea.
couldn't tell you why. I have no idea.
And see,
Right.
I
You're
think that
asking
an
questions.
all-powerful and morally perfect God would never do that. I just think that there are better ways to create life. You know, like, you know, us in heaven with God already, which it seems to be is what he wanted in the first place. I don't know why he created all this middle shit.
I
It
mean,
doesn't make sense.
if
But
you
yeah,
look at the Bible, how many conversations has God had with man that's been a good conversation?
I don't think that God has had conversations with humans. 'cause
It's just a man-made
No, I said
religion.
in the Bible, Leo.
So Bible, who
In
write
the
the
Bible, how
Bible?
many
It's a
times in the
human.
Bible has God spoken to man and the conversation gone
A
very well?
man is spoken to
How many
man in
times?
the Bible.
Yeah, but why is that? Why does it seem that God fails to communicate with humans like all the time?
Is
How does an
that
all-powerful
God's failure?
yeah. I mean, how does an all-powerful being fail to do anything that it wants?
Well, how does a scientist make a mistake in a
That's
lab?
just the question.
He's
It
got
doesn't answer the one I asked.
he's got all power in the lab. Well, no, I mean, look, that's how
Well,
I would
no,
have to
hold on
compare
a
it in order to.
second. Sorry, Dustin. A scientist doesn't have all power in the lab. He's still constrained by natural laws. Like he can't just create out of nothing or change the laws of physics. Like there's not all power in a lab. Where did you get
All
that?
power being maximally limited to the capability of the individual at the time.
No.
If you
No,
want
I
me
would
to,
define and I
just
think most
caveat it.
philosophers of religion define God's omnipotence as God's capability of actualizing any logically consistent state of affairs.
I mean,
Well,
if
it
you're
would
gonna
be
say
like
logically
it would be like.
consistent,
Well,
whose logic are we going by?
Well, let's steal man Dustin here and say that scientists had
Classical.
control over a simulation, for instance, like a simulation. Okay, and he's got all power in that computer simulation, right? You would then say, well, why doesn't he change the rules of the simulation into the animals don't predate on one another, the simulated animals don't predate on one another. But the scientist isn't all benevolent either. He might be trying to see why.
On the other end of that, have you ever removed a piece of code that seemed like it wasn't doing something, and then you go to play the
Sure.
program and find out the consequences of said code?
Sure.
Are you saying that predation is a consequence God wouldn't have known about? Then God's not all knowing.
I don't
thought
know
God
that.
was all
I don't know
knowing.
that God would. You're asking me to explain the inner workings of another individual. I cannot do that.
No, I'm just saying that there are certain things that if God is defined as all-powerful, all-knowing, and morally perfect, we can examine that being against a variety of states of affairs and potentially derive contradictions, between its existence and the existence of other things, like a world in which there is predation. That's all I'm doing, is I'm
you're
just running a
saying-
conceptual analysis on the idea of God as outlined by Christianity.
So really,
So you're
and I want to
saying
bring
that-
this. Well, I want to bring this back to evolution in general, because that was the original topic.
Yeah,
So
we
what
should probably do
Leo's saying is that you've got you've got the evolutionary model, which basically says that certain organisms found a better energy source than just photosynthesis. They could use energy from plants to be able to, and then we evolved a better energy source than plants, a more condensed energy source than plants, which was feeding on the other organisms, kind of thing. In an evolutionary pattern, it makes sense. But from and it has to be an all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good God. Predation doesn't make much sense. Like, why implement something like that?
If predation makes
So
sense in an
horrid.
evolutionary perspective, then why would you find a population explosion? Wouldn't you
do
see
you mean?
more predation in the particular populations that would keep the population in check?
Ignores the whole concept of evolution and what it is.
Yeah, so I think the population explosion was fueled by a rise in the amount of sort of algae, like plants that were flourishing across the world, which then led to a population explosion of things that ate them. So any amount of energy going into the system, if it gets more and more, you'll get more development and like, why do populations of locusts explode? Because there's a lot of food available.
More and more, isn't the sun winding down? Isn't there less and less
No.
energy every day?
No.
No.
The sun is roughly consistent in its energy emission and has been for the last 4.5 billion years, and will be for another 4 billion years.
So you're right now, the sun is spewing out light and heat, and that has no consequence over time.
Well, over
Like,
time,
maybe
yeah,
in
as it adds
temperature or-
energy into systems like the Earth, you can end up with increases in complexity and stochasticity, like we see in life, and things like that. Which is why, if there were no sun, there would be no life.
So let me make sure I understand what you're saying here. Let me just hold on a second. Let me try and make this simple. All right. So you're saying that an explosion of one life brings about the predation of that life, and then the explosion of another population. And this is the evolutionary method.
Here, maybe let me try. So what we're saying is there are going to be different organisms in the same ecosystem. And those organisms are going to specialize in getting their food one way, while the other will get it in a different way. sometimes those strategies can change depending on if the environment changes, or if one group gets much better, the other has to compete, or they can go extinct. Now, predation,
So-
what all animals do of eating other organisms, is one strategy. Plants have a different strategy where they just sit there and let the sun feed them. It's
Fungi
more
have a
consistent,
different
but they can't move.
strategy.
What was
Fungi
that?
have a different strategy than animals and plants.
And then you have fungi, which are just the weird third child.
They have sort of a symbiotic thing with plants and the mycelium, and they're very interesting organisms.
They're the
I'm trying to keep it
stepchild.
simple, but yes.
Um. So you're saying
Just-
that
Just take a look
what
at
would
the
he-
cave. Just take a look at the cavefish, how it adapt the environment, and how it survive. I'm talking about the cave deviling fish. It lost its size. It's through the epigenetics. If it didn't, adapt that environment, it went extinct. But it adapted because it lost its size. That's again because now it can feel its prey and it can go and hunt it. With the naked eye, it can't see anything because it's in the darkness. It's a perfect example of the evolution by natural selection.
Maybe
Can you Mark share my screen just to show him, and then you
Oh,
can
okay,
just
yeah,
close it?
sure.
Thank
Okay.
you. So that's where you can see that, and it's a perfect example. This catfish, it lost its eyes because it trapped into the dark environment. It trapped into the cave. Not just the catfish, but also other species. Also, they lost their eyes. But the benefit of that, so now they can see and hunt their prey. I can show you the other.
Anybody else
screen.
just seeing the pride flag?
Yeah, no, I don't. I
You
don't see.
see-
it.
yeah,
It's
I'm
great.
just seeing
you
the
don't
pride flag.
you don't have a screen shared.
What?
It's right there. I think I can
don't-
see that.
I can
I
see it.
cannot. I
I
cannot.
can't, Mark. I think
I
you.
can't
I think
see
you and the
anything.
share are the only ones who can see.
Okay.
Is it
Okay.
back?
Can you see now?
Nope.
No.
No.
See,
No,
Nope.
it
Wow.
had a little loading
That's
thing,
so
but it didn't.
I'm
It didn't
sorry.
load.
That's my side.
I mean, maybe. Well, while we're trying to figure this out, like a lot of creationists will misrepresent evolution by saying it's just a ton of random processes resulting in complexity. It's more so evolution
I just shared
is
the link.
an element
I
of
got it.
randomness with consistency in environment or changes in the environment that filter out random variations. And there's more complex stuff there, but like it's
But you wouldn't say that would have an effect on, say, like herbs. The environment
Like,
wouldn't
yeah.
have any particular effect on, say,
ERVs?
where a genome would be. What?
well, I mean, it
ERV?
filter how susceptible a species is to
Yeah,
infection.
ERVs, herbs.
Yeah, different environments.
I am
are
not
susceptible to
signing up.
infection.
If you
for,
just put your email, it's gonna.
No,
open
no,
up.
no, I'm not. Look,
Okay,
you do.
got it.
I fucking hate that shit too. You need to subscribe in order to see. No, you can fuck
I
off.
did that
How about
multiple
that?
times, but it's okay for me. But anyhow, it's a concrete evidence of evolution
What was
by
that?
natural selection.
Did you
It's a
just get?
concrete
Did you just
evidence.
get
Not,
porn
not,
bombed?
not. So it's not only just
tried.
this one,
He
but
tried.
also green anoles, how they
Oh,
evolve when the brown anole, invade. And
In
they try to
fairness, that
kill
was
them.
the best creationist argument yet.
you gotta pause the stream and edit that out, Mark, or I don't know.
Yeah, can I edit it out while the stream is still going? I'll give it
I
a
have no idea. I've only had to do
Yeah,
it once, and I was drunk.
No, that's all right. I'll certainly do it when the
If you
stream
do
is
it afterwards, it's fine. It was just a second, so
Yeah.
your trigger
Okay,
finger
Mark,
is on
this one I
point.
think you don't need email address. You can just click on that.
Anyway, Dustin, I would. I don't know anything about you. I don't know your background or anything. But I'd recommend like looking up some explanations of how evolution works on YouTube. There's some pretty good explanations, and speaking from experience, sometimes people just look
Cladistics
at the
and
creationist
genetic
materials.
drift, allele frequencies on herbs.
topics.
Yeah, and I've looked up a lot of this stuff. Directed selective, or what is it? It's directed natural selection. Selective pressures on
What are you trying to say?
divergence of species. No, these are
He's
the
bringing
topics
up
that I've studied
topics.
Okay.
because
Okay,
he asked me.
so-
He asked me to.
Oh, you muted yourself, I think.
I was waiting for Mark Reed to say so. I thought he was.
Oh
gonna
yeah,
ask
so
Yeah,
look
sorry,
at this
sorry.
genetic drift. How that happened? The temperature rises, and that's why there is more female turtles than the male turtles. So it's based upon the environment. If you don't adapt it, then you win. This is what happening right now with the turtles, and 99% of sea turtles are turning to females. And imagine if this goes to 100%, then they will go extinct. They will extinct, and this is called genetic drift.
Which is
reptiles.
those
Reptiles hold
kind of
the
random
ability to go
events.
intersex, don't they?
No.
Well,
That's a Jurassic Park thing. So with a lot of reptiles, there isn't really differentiation. Like there aren't male and female sex chromosomes. Their sex is determined by the temperature that they're incubated at. So if the temperature rises in the nesting area, you might get a lot more females in this case. Other
That's-
species have the opposite problem where there'll be much more males. And either a mutation has to happen to change the temperatures, or something else has to happen, or the species can go extinct.
And when it comes
Otherwise,
to
shrink.
sexual reproduction, it's kind of more advantageous to have more females because one male can impregnate many females or can fertilize many eggs in the case of turtles and other kind of
I mean, it
reptiles and stuff.
it depends, but generally yes. But when you have a sex ratio that high,
Problems.
like you don't have
Problems
enough
arise.
males to impregnate females. So the population's gonna nosedive within the next couple generations.
so where is God then?
He must
I
hate
feel
the
that's a
turtles.
different discussion.
What do you mean? Where is
Right.
God? He is everywhere. He's
So if the
inside
God
your
is
heart
everywhere,
right
he's
now.
supposed not to be making climate like that, and the species went extinct, or
He's not
species
just in your
getting
heart. He's
extinct,
also in
so-
your balls because he's
That-
everywhere.
Wow.
I mean, it would follow,
I
wouldn't it? If
mean,
God is everywhere, then your
Didn't
balls is
technically
somewhere.
like
So
dinosaurs
you
become
know,
birds?
Birds
Didn't
are dinosaurs. Yes.
technically become
God is
birds?
also in your
Yeah,
ass.
like so
Yeah,
they
birds-
didn't
birds
really
are
extinct,
dinosaurs.
did they? But didn't
Sorry,
so
yeah,
then they didn't go
something
extinct.
interesting. What about birds and dinosaurs?
Aren't birds and dinosaurs like didn't the dinosaurs evolve into birds? So like they didn't really
Some
go
dinosaurs
extinct.
did. Most of the dinosaurs did go extinct. Birds are a very particular subgroup within Dinosauria.
Like T-Rex became a chicken.
Nope, completely different kind of dinosaur.
Okay.
There are descendants of tyrannosaurs. Sadly, be pretty neat.
This idea of metamorphosis as the mechanism for evolution, it's such a straw man that it's so strange. Because we
Yeah,
know that
I-
metamorphosis exists in nature, and a caterpillar turns into a completely different animal, which is the butterfly, completely different in colloquial sense.
Well,
So we know what metamorphosis looks like.
Well, I feel like during the debate that was sort of said. It was like a
Yes.
chimpanzee shape shifting, and I thought that is a straw man of what's actually happening.
Wait, hold on.
Mhm.
You mean to
What?
tell me that like animals don't just like do the 30-second thing and transform
you
into
mean
a different animal?
Pokemon
like, that's
evolution.
not how it happens.
Pokemon evolution. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, Pokemon evolution is
No,
not actually
evolution does not take place with animorphs.
right. Just to cut in, I have a pseudonym for $10. It may relate but analogous. Why is it when I play Mario Kart 64, the person in last place was more randomly likely to get a star or a 3 boost mushrooms guy in first gets banana? Is that evolution?
No, that is just the
Programming.
coding
Balancing.
of the game.
Well, I
not
don't
a
know
naturally
how the
occurring-
I'm gonna say yes, it's
I don't-
evolution.
I don't know how
It's a
it's
fun
programmed,
question.
to be honest with you. Do they have like a bias towards the
Yes, they
last
do.
place player? Oh, okay.
Probably.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, the lower in rank you are, the better items you get.
Yeah,
Well, I
a
mean,
lot
that
of
kind
racing
of
racing
makes
games do
games
that.
sense, though.
Yeah. Well,
It's
yeah.
called rubber banding, I think, in game design. The
Yeah.
way that you give the
Uh,
person who's doing worse
I
a
don't
chance
think
to get back on
I
top.
don't think it's evolution because nature doesn't give a shit who's in last place. Quite
It
frankly,
does
they
not.
No, it'll
just go
keep kicking
extinct
you.
and it doesn't care. Yeah, no, they're not
You're
given
done.
any kind of advantage.
You get
right.
tossed no bones.
Heck, like right now, I'm looking at a bunch of dinosaur dig sites, which unfortunately kicked the bucket, which I actually am pretty sad about because some of them are pretty cool.
Yeah, nature don't care who's in last place. It'll kick you while it's down. And Andrew, I think you had something to correct Leo on, which I am just so looking forward to, quite frankly.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. You sound lovely.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if there's or seemed like there was a delay earlier. I don't know if it's just my internet. Anyways, I'm sorry, Leo. I'm here to call you out on one
There you go.
astronomical fact you put in. Just a little nitpick there. The sun is actually getting brighter over time. It's actually gotten between 30 to 40% brighter or more luminous in the last few billion years. Just how the hydrogen fusion in its core works and how that's converted to helium. The core becomes more dense over time. So just a little nitpick there as a fellow astronomy nerd.
And fact check says Andrew is right from the NASA website.
After Leo, I got something to say.
Over
Oh,
time,
I just had one question, and that is, how does the sun's luminosity scale with its energy output?
I think it's roughly correlated with energy output. So it is producing more energy now than it was back then.
Yeah, NASA says that nuclear synthesis has gone on the sun, making more and more helium and carbon, and such. The sun has slowly gotten hotter and brighter.
And I'm assuming that's probably because of the increase in its core's density, which is going to increase its pressure.
Right, exactly.
Presumably, yeah.
And that, I would imagine, could potentially accelerate the fusion processes, which would lead to an increase in energy output.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go.
Hey guys, I gotta pass out. I have to be up at 4. Have a good night.
No
You
worries.
too.
Thanks for
Join
coming.
us.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
See you
that's
later.
cool.
Take care.
But yeah, that reminded me of everyone's favorite creationist Kent Hovind has a problem with just saying, well, if the Earth had a 14-hour day when it started and has a 24-hour day now, how did the plants adapt? They still get
What?
the same proportion of light. The Earth just spins faster.
Yeah.
Plus,
Mm,
Are you seriously
What,
asking
3
why
billion
Hope believes what he believes? Seriously?
Huh?
The man,
that's a better question,
that-
yeah.
yeah, why Hovind believes what he believes, because that man believes that the waters of the deep shot rocks at the moon and made the craters. Like, seriously.
Oh, that
Um,
sounds like
I mean, him, I will just straight up say I think he's a liar grifting for money.
lunar bukkake theory, where
Evidence.
the water came up so fast and so hard that it blasted into the atmosphere and hit the moon and put.
Oh, that's right.
And
Evidence
the moons
Evidence.
on other planets.
in one of the debates, I don't remember which one, I think it was with me, evidence of God said that the waters of the deep were the thing that cut the continents into their current shapes, like a water jet
Oh
cutter.
no!
Yes,
he said that with
after
Grayson,
me.
and he
Oh,
said
no.
it didn't produce any heat.
Yes, he said
Wait, he said that?
Wow.
Oh wow.
Which
I don't know how thermodynamics works. I'm sorry.
He doesn't understand thermodynamics.
friction.
Yeah, that's a worry. Yeah, there's
Well,
no cutting of the.
in my
We
debate,
know
he
what
also said that the
continental
water
spreading.
lubricates, which is insane. also.
To be fair, most creationists don't understand thermodynamics.
Very true.
Well, yeah. As soon as I hear somebody quote like the second law of thermodynamics
Yeah, I
in
was
reference to the
I was gonna say,
entire
I've heard him say the word
universe-
entropy just so many times. How could they not understand it?
Right.
Entropy, everything is decaying, and I'm just like, that's not
That's
what
a very
entropy
gross
means.
oversimplification.
Yeah.
If I may,
Yeah. Well.
or
Yeah. Go
oh,
for
sorry.
it, Andrew.
Oh, I was just going to share one more quick fun fact since on the solar luminosity thing, since you guys were also talking about climate change earlier, which is another subject I'm passionate about. One of the common arguments from climate change deniers you'll often hear is when you look at the carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere from rocks dating to the Ordovician period and around that time, the carbon dioxide level is actually much higher than it is today. But based on the rock record, you'll also find evidence of glaciers in the southern hemisphere, in the southern continents. And so they'll point to that and say, aha, if the carbon dioxide level was so much higher than today, then how is there any ice on the world? And the secret is actually the solar luminosity has changed over time. So of course the sun was slightly dimmer 400-ish million years ago, just ever so slightly, like a few percent dimmer, but that made a big difference. So it's actually interesting how as solar luminosity has increased over millions of years, the carbon dioxide levels have roughly more or less gone down to their present day level. So a neat kind of balancing act there.
So climate
Yeah,
change really
there's-
is just the sun getting hotter. Okay.
Well, I mean,
Wow. How
at
did you
least in
get
regards
that?
at least in regards to like glaciers and the ice caps, like
Hmm.
it wasn't until I took glaciology in college that I realized just
God, that
how
sounds so
many
sexy.
factors. It wasn't until then that I learned how many factors go into like what regulates how much ice there is on Earth. There's like over a
Paleoclimate-
dozen individual factors,
Including
all
how
coming
much
together.
ice. Including how much ice there is on Earth, like simple
Yeah.
albedo, like how much it
or
reflects,
or
like
how big deserts are near the equator.
right.
Dino, I got a
Because-
question. Can you say glaciology again for me, please?
Wow. Look, he's just edging. He's just edging.
Glaciology.
Oh, that
There
was
you go.
beautiful.
There you go. All right. Well, I might wrap it up here because it seems to have hit a bit of a lull, and I'm very, very, very tired because I've had like 2 hours sleep and then debated and everything. So I feel very tired. But I wanna thank each and every one of you. If you do have any suggestions or any feedback for me, sure, shoot it over. I'm always happy to take constructive criticism. If you are just going to shake your naked ass in my chat, please don't bother. Like, because seriously, it's not impressive, and you're really doing a disservice to creationists everywhere. So, yeah, thank you so much, everybody. It was awesome, but I got to go and edit out someone's ass now. So, yeah,
You
Fun
come in
times.
here and show your ass.
Hope
Yeah,
you
it
get
was my
a good
pleasure to
sleep.
talk
I
to
was
you.
pretty
Thank you
damn
very
quick
much.
on the draw, though,
Yeah,
wasn't I? Like,
Yes.
oh,
really,
that was
Yeah,
fast.
bravo.
Your trigger
Yeah.
finger is trained.
I
That
don't know. I
was
was working
pretty
on
awesome.
pure intuition. I panicked and then like did something. I don't know. I can't even remember it. I'm traumatized from the whole experience now.
Quick time event. It's those
Yeah.
Elden Ring hours you've been putting in.
Oh yeah. It's those dodge rolls in Elden Ring giving me the reflexes I need to deal with this kind
Quick
of thing.
press X.
But thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate each and every one of you. It was a great debate. I had a ton of fun. I got to say, I really did. I'm just exhausted. But thanks to everyone in the chat for coming over. I'll try and find somewhere to send you. It might be a 24-hour stream or something, but I'll send you somewhere and you can read Raid onwards. I want to thank the Modern Day Debate and James for having me on. And don't forget to be kind to yourself. Be kind to people around you. This stuff is hard. It's hard to learn. It's hard to get a handle on. It requires a lot of study. But it's worth it because it sort of is
rewarding.
Well, any knowledge is worth it. I think that sort of, and we all have different specialities. And I come from sort of an IT background, and that's hard to learn. All of the STEM fields are hard to learn. It's why a lot of people don't want to go into STEM because it's really hard. But where would we be without doctors and scientists and technicians and all of the people that make up STEM?
Not to say not you guys.
That's it. All right. How dare you, sir? How dare you? No, I'll put Leo back. Don't you dare diss engineers. Leo. Anyway, do take care. I'll see you in the next one. And I'll have some content out soon. So thanks for joining me, everybody. And
thank you for
take care.
Letting me co-host with you, Mark. It's always
Thank you very much,
my
Mark.
pleasure. Always, Max. Like I like to have a co-host. Like after the debate, I'm kind of mind mushed, so it's great to have someone to be able to, you're like a thinking brain dog kind of thing. That when I stumble and don't know where I'm going, you just take over, and it's fantastic. So thank you so much, Max. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Take care, everyone. Catch me on Matters Now.